Welcome to the Navigator Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Navigate Academy podcast. This is Navigate Academy Module 56, where in the webinar we discuss building a better business through budgeting. And there's no one better, in my humble opinion, to talk to us this morning about this and the real world experience he has than Daniel Adair, CFO of Fusion. Thanks for joining me this morning, Daniel.
Thanks for having me.
That's great. You and I have been working together over the years, so I know this is a subject that's almost as near and dear to your heart as it is to mine. And so I thought we'd just maybe dialogue a few minutes about your journey. So let's start why did you start budgeting in the first place, and what obstacles did you have to overcome as you began this journey?
Personally, I've been budgeting for a long time. Practically as long as I've been with Fusion. My background is in accounting and finance, and a budget is just something you do. But I think the key is getting it out of just me doing the budgeting and us starting to budget as a company together. And we've only been doing that for about 8 years together now.
And what have you learned in that process? How have you been able to how has it improved your business as you brought the rest of the company and rest of leadership into view in your budgeting process?
I think the main thing that I have learned is that a budget isn't just something you throw out there like set and forget. A budget, an impactful budget, is one that is done with intentionality and given sufficient amount of time, and one that you need to include as many of the key stakeholders as you can in that process, and as you prepare that budget. I would say that's probably one of the biggest things that's different now here at Fusion than it was, say, 6, 7, 8 years ago. We are more engaged, more intentional, starting early, and really focusing more on the budget as more of a roadmap of where we want to be as a company, and not just something that lives in the background or on the finance desk.
Right. I remember when we started working together, we really took the budget and let that drive operating initiatives, or said, here's what the operating initiatives are going to produce in the budget. And it's often a link that people miss in the budgeting process, right? We all find it really easy to improve our sales or improve our ratios in Excel. The question is, what are you doing behind that? And I think the other thing that you've done in the time we've been together is that you have expanded that budget beyond ownership down to your senior managers. And I think you've even now gone below that in the organization to include a view. So tell me about that experience and how you had to let go of the fear of, well, people are going to know too much about kind of how much money we're making.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I would think that's probably the number one reason why budgets don't cascade through a company. And it's unfortunate. And it's what we did for a long time. But since working with Navigate, you guys making that change, we have increased transparency. I mean, it took a lot for myself to kind of open up the books to other stakeholders in the company. And like you said, first it was our executive team, our senior management team, plugging them in, getting them involved from the start of it, making sure they had a say. Incorporating the budget into our strategic planning as an executive team has made tremendous impact to the business. But then getting it to cascade farther down is still a challenge. But fortunately at Fusion, we have been able to cascade that down into our operations and project management teams. They understand the budget. More importantly, they understand their part in delivering the budget and us being successful. That has really changed the conversations at Fusion, and it has aligned both senior management with mid-level management and operations in a pretty impactful way.
Let's talk about that a little minute. Without, obviously we're not going to talk about confidential information, but can you describe the results to your business as you've leaned into aligning these elements that you just talked about?
Yeah, absolutely. The impact has been significant. From just an integration standpoint at the company, all of us marching to the same beat, as it were, revealing that information to the company as we go along allows all of us, not just senior management, to pivot, to make changes, to adapt and do things in order to meet that budget. I can tell you without a doubt, the impact of intentional budgeting has increased our profitability tremendously. It really has.
And
And
we're talking bottom line as well as gross margin on profits, right? I mean, your bottom line has increased dramatically throughout this
absolutely,
process. Yeah,
absolutely. It really has, more so than I anticipated, to be honest. And it's really exciting to see those results. And it's even more exciting sharing those results with the entire company. That has really been encouraging and exciting.
that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear a success story come out of it. And how's it changed? I think we talked about this a little bit, but how's it changed the mindset of the managers and the people involved? Have you seen them? Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. How's it changed the mindset?
Well, I think it has changed the mindset, right? I mean, first of all, everybody knows where we want to go. Everybody sees the roadmap. So everybody has goals. Everybody has something to work towards. Everybody knows if we're on track or off track. I think that's really difficult in companies in our industry is getting everybody else involved, helping them know what success or failure looks like, and then equipping them to participate and to have an impact in success or failure.
That's awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate our time today, Daniel. Is there any parting words or any stories or advice you'd like to give the rest of the people listening about on the practical experience of improving your bottom line through better budgeting?
Yeah, I mean, the main advice I always give is don't be afraid to be transparent. Don't be afraid to share information. Don't be afraid to be honest with the people that can have an impact to your profitability as a company. Tell them the truth. Plug them in, let them know what's going on, equip them to be impactful and to help your company achieve the profitability that it's looking for. The other thing I'll encourage you is if you do start the budgeting process, don't stop. I think
Right.
keep it at the forefront. Don't let it again become something that just lives in the background for accounting to look at and to deal with. Make sure it stays current, make sure you keep a focus on it, and use it as an entire company to set the expectations of where you want to go. Use it as a roadmap, and constantly compare performance to the budget. How are you actually doing compared? The other thing I'll say that took us several years to do is to pivot mid-year or midstream in a budget. A budget isn't something you set and forget and just take or leave how you do against it. Be prepared to adjust your budget. If you see that you have set unrealistic expectations, don't be afraid to modify them and let everybody know that we're changing the goals based on reality. I think that was big for us. It's something we continue to improve on and work on.
That's great advice. Thanks so much for being with us this morning, Daniel. And I just continue to wish you great success as you and your Aaron run a great business down there in South Carolina.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Joel and Navigate, for everything you've taught us and everything you do for us in the industry. We greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for having me.
You're welcome. Take care.
All right, you too.